Okay then. Hello everybody, I'm on Behinds, aka Diamond Oz, and I'm really excited to say we're here with one of the greatest voices in metal, if he doesn't mind me calling him such.
Thank you!
Mr. Geoff Tate, Operation Mindcrime.
How are you?
All good, man. So, straight into it. This is the third Operation Mindcrime album that you're promoting, and I read that they're all recorded at the same time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did you want to record them all at the same time? Because I assume that would have been a huge strain on your voice to have recorded so much material in such a short space of time.
No, not really. It just was more, you know, when you have an idea on something and you're all excited about it and inspired, it's good to follow through, I think, on the whole thing. And that way you can achieve what it is that you're thinking immediately without letting years go by and forgetting what your whole purpose was in the first place, you know, which can happen, you know. So, yeah, it turned out really good, and everybody that contributed to it, you know, came on board very enthusiastically and really lent their talents to it, and we got great performances by everybody, and it was just really a great project, you know. I really had a wonderful time, you know, making music with all the different people that contributed, and I love being in the studio again with Kelly Gray and working with him closely, and yeah, I just can't say enough good things about the project. It was really fulfilling.
Well, obviously you're referring to it there as the project, is because you've said it's more of a collective of musicians rather than a band this time.
Yeah.
So with this in mind, will you ever release music under the name Geoff Tate again, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a process, you know. This was a project that was put together specifically for this particular story, and so it needed a name, you know, that people could recognize and people could relate to, you know. And unfortunately, my personal name isn't as well known as Operation Mindcrime or Queensryche, you know, for that matter. So I think over time it'll perhaps eclipse that, but it's a process, you know, building process.
Well, I actually had here why end Operation Mindcrime, but I think that's pretty much
there you go.
So
sorry about jumping ahead there.
No worries.
I can't read upside down.
Well, I can, but so am I. And the story behind the album is a very unique one for metal, I think. You're talking a lot about sort of stocks and cryptocurrencies and things like this.
Stuff that interests me.
Yeah. So
things that you see that are happening, you know, within our world. That I'm really interested in social evolution. I'm interested in human story, how we got to where we are, and what we did along the way, what shaped us. It's almost like a pinball machine, you know, that ball will just roll in a certain direction, but something makes it go that way, you know. And human culture is kind of like that. We have these signposts along the way that lead us in directions, and a lot of times we don't even really recognize that we're going in a direction, you know, at the time, until we look back and go, oh, well, look where we've been, you know. And things change radically and quicker now, because we're all communicating at such a high rate now, and all connected all over the world, that we're comparing notes, you know. In the United States, we're wondering why we can't have the kind of health care that certain countries in Europe have. We can't even fathom it, right? How come that can work? You know, we're the greatest country in the world. Why doesn't it work? Well, maybe we're not the greatest country in the world, you know. Maybe that's a myth that we've been taught, you know, like most things are myths that we're taught, and we grab hold of them and we carry them with us all our lives. And a lot of people don't ever stop and question why we're doing something. And some people do. And I'm just one of those people that is constantly asking why.
It's interesting you brought it up, the American example, just because on the way here I was singing I'm American to myself over and over again.
Oh, the song?
That's one of my favourite Queensryche songs. That was going in my head all the time, and that's brilliant because it's so sort of tongue-in-cheek without being silly. You know what I mean? It's questioning.
It's taking the piss.
Yeah. It's just sober red. Do I meet an American that knows that phrase? So there you go.
Yeah.
As a whole project, the Operation Mindcrime project, how would you say the reception has been?
I don't know. I haven't really paid attention, honestly.
But why? I suppose because it's your artistic output. It doesn't really matter what anyone else thinks of it, I suppose. So.
Well, you know, the whole game has changed. You know, you don't go out anymore and tour in support of your album. Albums really don't mean much anymore in the grand scale of things. It's art, yeah, and it will influence some people, and it will shape some people's artistic opinions and maybe their social opinions as well. But it doesn't really mean what it used to mean, you know. And the whole game has changed in that I don't need to keep making records. I like making records. You know, I don't make any money making records. I just like it, you know. It's something I do.
Well, I'm glad that you do, because you know, over the course of your whole career, you've always had these very interesting ideas and concepts and things like this. And it actually leads to me wondering, will you ever write a book at some stage rather than channeling it into an album?
I keep trying. Writing songs is a different animal than writing a book. You know, you only have to come up with 6 or 12 lines, you know, to have a song. With a book, oh boy, you have to go into detail. And I have had an interesting life, I have to say. I've done a lot of things and been a lot of places and been in a lot of interesting situations and learned a lot. And you know, it'd be interesting to pass along, I guess, that information at some point. It's just a lot of work.
Get in the ghostwriter, you'll be alright.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll find some talented person and sit down with a couple bottles of wine and tell them the story and have them go at it.
Well, how is the wine business going?
The wine business was going great.
Good.
Yeah.
It's a little less concepts, I guess, have to go into ideas. Obviously a lot of work and ideas.
Yeah, it's a different kind of work. It's a different kind of concept. It's challenging because there's a heck of a lot of competition out there for wine sales, and you know, you have to create this thing that has an image, you know, and it has a name and a consistency to what it is you're making. And it's tough with nature because nature's, you know, going to do what it's going to do, and you have to try to learn to adapt, you know. And so every vintage, even though you're harvesting the same from the same vines, every vintage is different, you know. But you try to find a consistency in it, you know, which is really challenging, really challenging. But I love it, you know. I love getting my hands dirty, and I love harvesting grapes, and I love working in the fields. And I go over to Germany several times a year and work at the winery and try to catch up on what's going on and in between touring and making records, you know. But it's really a great business. I love it.
It's clearly a real passion project.
It is a huge project, and it's kind of crossed over into my music life in a sense, because every beginning of October for harvest, we throw a big party after the harvest. We try to get people to come over and join in on the harvest because we can use the help. And feel free to come. It's really fun. You just have to not cut your finger off, which is important. But after the harvest, we have a big festival that we put on at the winery, and we have food and wine and entertainment. I always play a set of music, and I have different friends that fly in and hang out for the weekend, musicians and artists who come and entertain people as well who are there. And it's really fun. There's a lot of jamming going on, and you know, stuff, people getting together and playing music that you wouldn't expect to get together and play music, you know. That's cool, I think, you know.
That's very cool. It makes it such a unique experience.
Yeah, and it's all in this little tiny farming town on the on the border of France and Germany.
Oh, okay. It's sort of not far from Cologne.
No, not too far from Cologne.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, while we speak of European countries, we spoke a little bit before I started recording about Spain, and we mentioned that the idea for Operation Mindcrime as a project was born while you were hiking in northern Spain.
Yeah.
Was it something about Spain that made you start thinking about
I don't know.
this project? Or
So
just-
there is something about Spain,
Yeah.
especially that area. Northern Spain is pretty magical, I think. You know,
It's very different from the rest of
picturesque
Spain.
and just remote and old, ancient, and it's one of the places that human beings first started living in. You know, in what we call Europe now.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of history there, a lot of human history. It's fascinating to me, and I feel it when I'm there, especially out in the wilderness when you're hiking and in the mountains, and you know, away from the cities, you can kind of hear things differently. You know, the cities has its own music, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's constantly playing, and all these intense. Vibrations you can pick up on here in the city because it's just so filled with humanity. But then you get away from humanity and you're kind of listening to a different muse, you know. And, so luckily I tapped into that when I was hiking. I'm just hiking away trying to not think about the blisters on my feet, and I started thinking about anything, just think about something else. And I've been wanting to do a large-scale concept record for a while, and I thought the idea of doing a trilogy would be pretty fun, you know, telling a story in 3 acts like a film, you know. And so I was kind of leaning in that direction anyway. I just didn't have a story, you know.
Right.
And within the first week of being on the Camino and walking, trying not to think about my blistered feet, I started thinking about, what would it be like if one could go to the store and buy a program or download an app off the internet and put it on your computer, and that you could see and experience reality in a new and completely different way. What would that be like? And that set me on a thought trail, you know, that eventually turned into 3 albums.
Good stuff.
And I had my little studio with me.
I did
you know,
notice that, yeah.
And I just at night after we get done hiking, or in the afternoon, you know, after siesta, I'd spend hours just, you know, coming up with new ideas for this idea I had. And by the time I finished the hike, I had quite a few pieces of music written, and the whole outline in mind and written down, and so that just started the ball rolling, you know, to finish it. So here we are 3 years later, 4 years later.
Very good. While we speak
And the
Spain,
time went just like that. You know?
well, it has seemed to go like that because
Yeah.
I keep thinking you're touring in support of the Key, and then of course the rest of the trilogy's out now, you know. So because I think it's all been released over about 18 months. Obviously, the whole project took.
That was actually a
longer
year
than
in
that.
between each release.
Was it really?
Yeah,
I'm an idiot.
I know. It's like this.
Well, while we speak about Spain, you were in Barcelona relatively recently with Fantasia.
Yeah.
How was working with them?
Oh, incredible. Yeah, really talented group of musicians, and wonderful kind of family vibe that they have. And Toby is an incredible leader of that whole madness camp, I'll call it. And he's just a pleasure to work with. In fact, I'm going to Germany after this tour to work on the next record with him.
Okay.
So that'll be fun.
Is the next Fantasia record?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's very excited about it, and he hasn't played me anything yet. He says, I'm waiting for you to get here, and then I will spring it on you. So I'm on pins and needles in anticipation, waiting.
Well, if it's Fantasia, it's Geoff Tate. It's going to be good.
Oh, it'll be good, yeah, no doubt about that.
Hang on a minute.
It's just, but what's it gonna be, you know? But I really enjoyed working with them. You know, all the people. Sasha on guitar is incredible, great producer, and Mira on the keyboards is amazing. You know, and just a great band. And it was really wonderful to step into that because I didn't really have any rehearsal with them. I just did sound check with them, and did the song, and then Toby asked me to do some other parts in the show, so I'm backstage learning what to do and what to the lyrics, and writing them on my hand, and that was kind of unnerving, but very fun and challenging. It's always different for me. In fact, for years and years and years, I never ever sat in with any band or played any other music other than my own, and so it was very difficult for me to just, like, I'd be out somewhere and somebody would go, "Hey, come up and sing a song with us." What? I can't possibly do that, And I had to actually force myself to do it in order to get comfortable with it, because it kept happening to me so much, And then I've had a lot of wonderful experiences and invitations from really great bands and musicians to sit in with them and do songs and things like that. So I'm much more comfortable with that now, But before, it was just like, oh my God, I thought I would feel myself getting sick from nerves, But not anymore. I'm used to it now.
Well, I read that when you were a lot younger, you used to play trumpet and saxophone.
I still do, yeah.
Still do? Okay. I was wondering how you've been able to translate those techniques from brass instruments into singing.
Well, saxophone, they say, is the instrument that is most like the human voice.
Okay.
And I have to go along with that. I think that's very true. You can really bend notes like you can with the voice, half step, full step, bends with the saxophone, just like the human voice. It has the expression of the human voice. It's a singular note, like the human voice is, rather than a chordal instrument like a guitar or keyboards. So yeah, it's very similar. I love it. I've played saxophone on quite a few records now, and played it live many times on tours. It has, playing saxophone, there's a technique called circular breathing that you use, where you fill up your diaphragm with air, and then as you're blowing out, you're also filling that diaphragm back up with air again. So it's a continuous recycling of air.
Okay.
So theory-wise, you could basically just hold a note for as long as you could keep circular breathing, Okay. And so I've kind of been working that into voice control and how that can kind of relate. And it's pretty interesting. It's kind of helped me hold notes longer and have a little bit more endurance live, when you're playing songs back to back to back to back,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And swimming really helps too.
Okay.
Holding your breath for long periods of time expands the lung capacity. I used to be a runner, but as I've gotten older, my joints can't take the pounding anymore. So I've had to kind of find other ways to do aerobic activity.
Well, they say running and swimming are the best.
Yeah, swimming
exercises you can
especially,
do,
because it doesn't put any strain on your muscles or your joints or anything. You're defying gravity, kind of as you're going along.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great muscle workout. Yeah.
Okay, well, just to cap it off then, what's next? Now that Operation Mindcrime has told the story.
Well, I'm touring the whole year. I'm booked all the way up to the end of the year, and I'm just going to hit every place possible touring. Tour, and then 2019, I can't really say what I'm going to do yet. Some things are in the works, and so it's just really touring, the rest of the year.
Very good. Well,
Yeah.
then I hope the circular breathing comes in very useful then.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the
Thank
time
you.
to speak to me.
Enjoyed the conversation.
Oh, thank you.